All right, welcome to Afternoon Art Club for 4th through 6th graders. Today is February the 16th. This is our second session of February. This month we're talking all about sculptures. And a couple of weeks ago, we started working on a paper sculpture, and you guys got some instruction on how to make some different components of your paper sculptures. We went through lots of different things that you could do to create three-dimensional forms out of a two-dimensional piece of paper. So we started out with that last time, and hopefully you guys have spent the last couple of weeks piecing together your paper sculptures and turning those little pieces, all these crazy little pieces, into a sculpture. In just a few minutes, I'll show you what mine looks like so far. I don't know if I'm quite done with mine, but I'm still working on it. So I'll show you what I got so far. Now, today, we're going to take a few minutes. We're going to do something a little different today. I'm not going to give you a ton of instruction today on how to do something like we did with this. Today, I want to show you some really cool sculptures that are made out of paper, just like our paper sculptures, that are in our newest exhibition that actually opened today at the Florence County Museum. So we are going to take a look at some of these sculptures, three in particular that I really like. I have some video of them. I thought we might be able to go down to the art gallery and actually walk around in that space, but we couldn't quite get it figured out with the Zoom, with connecting it to the Zoom. And so to make sure that all this works and it isn't just a big mess, then I did some video. So we're going to take a look at that, and you'll get to see as if you're walking around those sculptures. So let's go ahead and get started. I would like to remind you that if you have any questions, please throw those in your chat box. I will keep watching it while I'm talking today. So please, if you have questions, throw them in the chat box. But the way it's going to be a little bit different today is I'm going to share my screen, and then I'm going to ask you guys off and on I'll pause the video and ask you guys to talk with me about what you see in the sculptures and what you're able to discern or what you're able to figure out about these sculptures just by looking at them. So we are going to be pausing the video and talking together several times today as we look at these sculptures. And then I hope before we go today, we'll have time for you to show your sculptures that you've created so far. And if you haven't finished or you're still in the process like me, then I would still love to see your progress, and maybe we can have some peer feedback time as well. So that's how we're going to get started today. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen to start with, and let's look at some of the sculptures in our current exhibition. So I'm going to change the size of this just a little. Sorry about that. And let me go ahead and open up my chat box. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my chat box here. Just hang tight for me. I want to make sure I have everything available. Okay. All right, guys. So let's take a look at some of these sculptures. Remember, if you have questions, throw those in the chat box for me. All right, now, so let's get started with super sculptures or looking at paper sculptures. So today we're going to be thinking and talking about some sculptures. We're going to look at three examples of sculpture, and actually all of these are made with paper, which is exactly what we have been working with. So you're going to be able to see some really cool examples of sculptures that can be made with paper. We're going to look closely at those sculptures for just a minute or two, and then I'm going to ask you some questions that I want you to think about while we look at our sculptures today. I'm going to ask you, what is going on in this sculpture? What do you think this sculpture is? So I'm going to ask you what you think it is. So be thinking about that as you're looking at it. What is this? And then I'm going to ask you what you see that makes you say that. So if you tell me that a sculpture is a butterfly, I'm going to ask you what about it makes you say that that's what it is. And then we're going to keep looking a little more closely and see what else we can find. So those are just the questions I want you to keep in mind as we're looking at our sculptures today. I'm going to start off by showing you just a still two-dimensional photograph of each of these sculptures. So this is the first one. Now, these artworks are by an artist. All of the artworks we're going to look at are by an artist named Annie Lemanski. Annie Lemanski is a sculpture artist from North Carolina. She lives in the Blue Ridge Mountains, and she creates some really awesome sculptures. Now, these sculptures are primarily made out of wire. They have wire on the inside that serves as sort of the structure or the skeleton of the sculpture. And then they're covered in these printed papers. So she designs all the design on the paper and has that printed, and then sews these pieces of paper to that wire form to create some really amazing sculptures. So this sculpture is called Painted Wolf, and we are going to look at this in a video as well. So I'm going to move forward one here. And I just want you, as you're watching this video, to think about the questions that I asked you at the very beginning of this presentation. So what is going on here? What is this sculpture of? What are we looking at? What do you see that makes you say that? So what do you see that's telling you that what you're saying is true? And then lastly, what else about this sculpture can you recognize or notice? So your first job is just to look closely for a minute or so, which is about how long this video lasts. So let's just give it a watch. So just take a close look. We're walking all the way around the sculpture, letting our eyes move all around it so that we can see all the parts of it. Some close-up details of the sculpture. You can see all the little stitches, how it's sewn together. All right. Look at those feet, how much detail is in the feet. It almost looks like a real animal. Okay, so now we've had a good look at the sculpture all the way around the outside of it. You've been able to see sort of the shape or the forms that are making up this sculpture. Now I am going to, let me go back here. I'm going to pause our recording here so that I'm going to pause the share, and I'm going to pause the video. Actually, I'm just going to stop sharing, and then I'm going to pause the video so that we can talk a little bit about it. Okay, so now this artwork by Annie Lemanski is entitled Blue Shark. So I want us to take a close look at this. Everybody hold on one moment. All right, so everybody is muted again. Everybody hang on. Everybody should be muted now. All right, now we are going to look at the video of Blue Shark. So again, I want you to remember that we're starting off just by observing, taking a minute or so to look at this artwork, look all around the artwork, look at everything you can possibly notice about it. And then you guys are going to talk to me about what we see here. So here we go. All right, so you can see the fins of the shark, his little gills where he breathes. You can see the pattern on the paper. That's a very interesting pattern. The top fin of the shark. You can see those same stitching details like on Painted Wolf, all the way back to the tail fin. All right. So let's go back to just this image. And if you guys will hold tight for me, I am going to... Okay, our third and final artwork by Annie Lemanski that we're going to look at is titled Black Widow. Now, this is a pretty large sculpture, maybe something that would feel very imposing or a little bit frightening when you walk into the gallery here at the museum. But let's get a closer look with the video and see if you can see some good details. I love the way the lights push those shadows on the wall. You can see up close the pattern of the body of the spider. You can see his eyes, his little fangs. The way his legs are positioned really looks like a very real spider. All right. So that's a pretty good look. I'm gonna pause this a minute. That's a good look at our spider. Now you guys can unmute yourselves. If you, hold on one second. Let me pause the recording. Okay, so now that we've talked about those three sculptures, we are going to go ahead and take a look at our own sculptures. Now, last class, we went over how to create these individual components, how to create tabs, how to make three-dimensional shapes out of a two-dimensional sheet of paper. We talked about fringing and curling and all sorts of things. So we're going to take a look at those again one more time quickly. And I'm going to show you the sculpture that I have started. And then I'd love to see your sculptures before we say goodbye today. So let me get this up here. Hopefully, it always wants to do that. Hold on just a second. I'm going to have to restart this 1 second. It always wants to skew on me. Hold on. Oh, I see some cool sculptures happening. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to pull this up one more time. Okay, let's give it a try this time. See if that'll fix it. All right, good deal. Okay, guys, so this is the sculpture that I have been working on, and I'm gonna actually zoom in a little bit here. Hold on just a second. Zoom in a little and lock my focus. So I got a lot of pieces here that we're looking at. It's kind of a mess because of all the stuff I've made. But this is my sculpture that I've started. You can see it from all angles. I have added lots of pieces, different pieces in different places. All right, and so this is just the start of mine. I do not think I'm finished with it. I have a little bit more I want to add, and I want to add a little bit more color to mine as well in a different way. But I want to show you, I just want to review with you really quickly the things that you could have done to add something three-dimensional to your sculpture. So we started off last time by talking about folds, right? And I showed you how to create an accordion fold where we have our sheet of paper and we fold it one direction and then flip it and fold it and flip it and fold it all the way down to create an accordion fold. That's three-dimensional. Then I showed you how you could take your scissors and cut little shapes into the folds of your accordion fold to create something like this. This could be an interesting addition to my sculpture somewhere. I don't know where I'll add it, but I kind of like the idea of that. We also did some little curls of paper where we took our paper and wrapped it around a pencil and created a curl. We also created this swirl the same exact way. So curls and swirls. We created shapes by folding our paper and then gluing it. So that would give us like a circle. But if we made it some creases, we could turn it into a triangle or a square. Lots of different shapes that we could make with our paper. We also created spirals. Mine got a little tangled up, but you can see here, I showed you how to create a round spiral and a square spiral. So that's what this is, the spiral. And you can kind of create a crazy little spiral with that. Excuse me. All right. And then I showed you how to create slits and slots where you could cut into the paper and then press one paper onto the other to kind of make it look like it's going through the paper. I've done that again here. I've just used my scissors to create just a little cut right here and just stuck this through. And I don't know if you can see it, but then I just folded over a tab and glued it right down inside of there. We talked about cutting tabs. I had another, here it is. So with this paper, we had a strip of paper and we made lots of little cuts in it. And then we folded those out to create tabs. So then we could glue down the tabs so that this paper could be in any kind of shape that we wanted it to be in. So those are all ways to create paper sculpture. Now, I would love to see what you guys have come up with. If you guys have your paper sculptures, even if they're not finished. Like I said, mine is not quite finished. I've started it, but I think I want to add a few more things to it. One thing, when you're looking at sculptures, you want to look at it from all points of view. So if I look at it this way, is it interesting? Does it look well balanced? Does it look like there's too much stuff on one side and not enough stuff on the other side? Then if I turn it, is that true? Does it look like it's well balanced? Is there too much stuff on one side and not on the other side? Is there too much color on one side and not enough on the other side? You just have to look carefully and do that to every viewpoint. So keep turning it and asking yourself, what else should I add to make sure that this looks complete and well balanced? So look at it from the top, look at it from all the different sides, and make a decision about your sculpture that way. I've got lots of little pieces that I can still add. So I'm going to keep all of these because I may want to add them later. But I'm going to stop sharing this screen now. And I'm going to, in just a second, stop the recording. And if you guys have your sculptures, I would love to see those. Now, if you don't have your sculpture, that's okay. But I would still love for you to hang around and see what the other students have made if they have theirs handy and available. Now, before I stop the recording, I do want to say that our next class is in 2 weeks. So that would be March the 2nd. Our next class will be March the 2nd. And we will be talking about something completely new. So we will be completely done with sculpture next time, and we'll be doing something brand new next class. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, and then I would love to see your sculptures. Thank you, guys.